One of the major topics last week at the league meetings, the challenges presented by the hiring of minorities as coaches, general managers, the issues raised by the Brian Flores lawsuit. Last Sunday night, we reported that there were going to be 2 more individuals added, and that amended complaint will be filed on Friday of this week. 2 others joining Brian Flores with allegations that they were passed over for head coaching opportunities based on race. Pete Carroll, within the confines of the meetings that occurred last week, delivered a lengthy and passionate speech, I'm told by multiple sources, that really put it on the owners for being responsible for what's gone on here. And I was told the reaction by some in the room was, well, Pete, you haven't done a whole lot on your end, especially as it relates to offensive coaches. And he's had 2 of his sons on the staff. We've talked in the recent past about how nepotism takes away opportunities that could go to any other coaches, regardless of race, creed, background, whatever. You put your kids on the payroll, they're taking jobs that could go to people who would otherwise earn them through merit, and that's part of the issue too. But my understanding is Carroll was very pointed, very passionate. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, got up and had some things to say in response. Basically, it's not all us, or it's not us, or don't put it on us. I don't have exact quotes, but it was definitely a moment, and it underscored the fact that this is a real concern for the NFL, and they don't quite know how to fix it at this point, Chris.
No, it's a hard one to fix, like we've discussed. It really is. It's again, the owners, they're partly to blame. A lot of the times they hire people to make a hire, though, because they don't know football all the time. And then they hire a guy who then leads them down the road of whiteness once again, because that's all he's known through it. So it's a tough issue. It is. Pete Carroll, I give him respect in the fact that, he seems to at least get in the fight with this conversation. He is the one that stokes the flames of the Colin Kaepernick conversation before, and I don't know how far he's gone behind closed doors there. Chris Richard, Ken Norton Jr., offensively you could certainly debate that for sure. I hear you. But, I would expect Pete Carroll to be one of those that's leading the charge in this conversation. I would. But like we've talked about, it's just not an easy fix. It's not. This is something that's going to take some real time and thought to get this machine rolling in the right direction to where it is fair to the minority candidates.
There are teams out there that want to have black coaches on the offensive side of the ball involved with the quarterback. That's the key. Touching the quarterback. Having a role with the quarterback is what leads to further opportunities,
Definitely.
Development, eventually head coaching jobs. And I was told over the weekend, some of these teams are having a hard time finding anyone, even at the college level. They're having a hard time finding black candidates who have experience directly working with the quarterback. And what the college coaches will say, not all of them, but some of them, they'll say, well, these recruits, and this may be passing the buck, these recruits want to be coached by someone who has a track record of putting quarterbacks into the NFL.
Definitely.
And these are the people who have the track record, and it becomes like the dog chasing its tail.
A little bit.
At a certain point, you have to break that mold. And one of the benefits of what we've seen with the really over the past 30 years explosion and complete obliteration of the wall that would keep black quarterbacks from having fair opportunities at the NFL and college level, as those players migrate into coaching, if they choose to do so, if that's what they want to do, they have the skills from playing, they have the experience from playing, it equips them to become coaches of quarterbacks. So that may take some time to fully develop, but there is some hope that the phenomenon we've seen, in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't been very long that we've gotten to this. We kind of take it for granted now that it's no longer an issue. It was an issue not all that long ago that black quarterbacks were not getting fair opportunities in the NFL. And I think that's over now. And also at the college level, not getting fair opportunities. That's ended. Now the question becomes how many black quarterbacks who choose to get into coaching are going to end up in a spot where they are getting the experience working with quarterbacks that sets them up to become offensive coordinators and head coaches at the NFL level. That's where the log jam is. That's where the pipeline is clogged. And that's where I think they're trying to work to increase opportunities so that people can develop and have the opportunities that flow from being in a position where you're working directly with a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. That's the launch point, right? I mean, we know that. A young offensive guy that worked with quarterbacks and offensive coordinator, he gets the job. Now what's weird is, of course, we're seeing the guy that's been the best of that, and Eric Bieniemy, not get a job, which is weird. And then, there's Byron Leftwich. But hopefully we can continue to see that. Like you said, it's a log jam. Hopefully some of these college quarterbacks who don't get to the NFL, this is the route they try to take. Like a Sean McVay or a Cliff Kingsbury. It's that kind of guy to me. But yes, you're right. It's going to have to be, an African-American, and they got to get them in the pipeline on the offensive side of the ball, because to your point, yes, it does seem like it's swayed way more to the fact that African-American coaches are on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball in the NFL.
And Pete Carroll has had black assistants and black defensive coordinators, but again, on the offensive side of the ball, and this was the reaction that people had in the room when he was making his passionate speech. We know where the problem is coming from, where the origin now is. It's on the offensive side of the ball, and you look at the coordinators that Pete Carroll has had, and they've all been white. And again, we get back to the dog chasing the tail example. At what point does this change? At what point do you have – at some point, and maybe this new program is the starting point, with every team now required to hire a minority or female assistant coach and paid by a league-wide fund. I still don't like that because it stigmatizes the person who gets the job. But you're creating another seat at the table, another opportunity for someone to come in and learn and grow and develop and demonstrate the ability to move on to a higher level and then get more responsibilities and grow and develop. That's how it works. People get in these jobs, they show they can do it, so they get a better job. And they show they can do that, they get a better job. You need to have the opportunity at the lowest level for someone to even begin the climb. And that's where they're looking to increase the opportunities, Chris, at that lowest level. Give people a chance to begin the climb, to begin to earn higher positions on the ladder, and eventually become head coaches. That's the thinking. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, hopefully it does. So that's what they got to do there. That's really definitely one of the key points of emphasis. Young, get them in on there, get them going, grow them, get people comfortable around them, get them knowledgeable about the league, and hopefully it can all take off from there.
And there is an obligation for the owners to do it. You can't just pass the buck to other teams. You can't say, okay, fine, I understand this. That all makes sense. Let someone else be the one to do it. There needs to be, and this kind of gets back to the Kaepernick thing, somebody with the moral and financial courage. And even though it's different, it's similar in some respects, you got to go do something that makes you uncomfortable. That's what it comes down to. You have to go out of your comfort zone. If you have a candidate who has a very similar background to you, if you're an owner looking for a coach and you can relate much more to the white candidate because you kind of grew up in a similar area or similar circumstances, and you get more comfortable more quickly with the white candidate than you do with the black candidate, that's got to end. You have to find a way to get comfortable with all candidates and treat all of the finalists the same way and make those decisions, because the history of the hiring is glaring, obviously.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.